Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're completely rethinking how you engineer your career. And we're going to do that by treating professional relationships not just as pleasantries, but as a tangible, highly valuable currency. We spend so much time talking about building hard skills, hitting our metrics, and constantly updating our resumes. But today, we're looking at something way more foundational. We're going to dig into the actual architecture of your connections and explore how you can strategically build them from the ground up. So I want you to ask yourself right off the bat, what is the actual currency that drives true professional advancement? It's a question that honestly stops a lot of people in their tracks. We kind of just assume it's raw talent, right? Or just putting our head down and grinding away in isolation. But, well, when we actually look at the data, a vastly different and deeply interconnected story emerges. Here is our blueprint for today. We'll be walking through 5 key areas: the wealth of connections, defining strategic social capital, the hidden job market, engineering your relational blueprint, and finally, the marathon of mutual benefit. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the wealth of connections, moving beyond the transactional mindset. Too often, people only reach out to their network when they're in a panic and desperately need something right in that exact moment, like a new job, a massive favor, or a glowing reference. And that right there is a deeply transactional mindset. Think about the psychology of it for a second. Reaching out only in desperation instantly signals that you view the other person simply as a utility. It's like treating them as an ATM for favors. It creates so much friction and awkwardness. But when you shift your perspective and start seeing your professional relationships as a literal form of currency, the whole strategy completely changes. You quickly realize that you need to earn it, save it, and invest it wisely, long before you can ever hope to spend it. It's all about cultivating wealth over time. This means actively checking in, sharing resources, and just being present when you don't need anything at all. Doing that builds a rock-solid foundation of genuine trust, and it transforms those weak ties into robust, high-yield assets. Moving right along to section 2. Defining strategic social capital, the sum of your resources. Okay, so what exactly is strategic social capital? It basically combines both the actual and the potential resources that you unlock through your network for personal and professional growth. It is, essentially, the wealth generated from your connections. The actual resources are the highly tangible things you can tap into right now. Maybe it's a colleague who can review a project proposal for you this afternoon, or an old classmate who can introduce you to a specific vendor. But the potential resources, wow, that is where the real magic happens. That's your future opportunity. Imagine a casual, really interesting conversation you have today with a peer in a slightly different industry. Right now, there's no immediate transaction. But let's say 3 years down the line, you're looking to launch a startup and you need a co-founder with their exact expertise. Well, that relationship is already warm. That door hasn't even been fully built yet, but it will eventually swing wide open for you simply because you took the time to build a genuine relationship today. You are strategically building these bonds so they're ready and waiting in the future. Which brings us to section 3, the hidden job market, unlocking exclusive opportunities. Consider this hidden reality of the market. Get this, a massive 85% of jobs are secured through interpersonal referrals rather than cold applications. Let the sheer scale of that number sink in for a second. 85%. If you are only applying through online portals, just sending your resume out into the digital void, and ignoring this relational blueprint, you are literally competing for a mere 15% of the available opportunities. The vast majority of the job market is completely hidden from public view, locked safely away behind the doors of strategic social capital. These roles get filled before they ever make it to a public job board, simply because hiring managers will always prefer a vetted, trusted referral over a giant stack of unknown resumes. Cultivating these relationships provides you access to exclusive resources and opportunities that a traditional application process simply cannot unlock on its own. And hey, this isn't just a strategy for folks fresh out of college looking for entry-level gigs. Senior leaders rely on this exact same strategic social capital to find their next major roles. Sometimes we have this weird misconception that once you reach a certain level of success, your resume just speaks entirely for itself. But the hard industry truth is actually the exact opposite. At the executive level, the cost of a bad hire is absolutely catastrophic for a company. A bad leadership appointment can literally derail entire departments or tank a quarterly earnings report. So because the stakes are incredibly high, personal trust and vetted social capital completely override even the most polished resume out there. Those senior leaders are navigating the hidden job market just like everyone else, leaning heavily on their carefully engineered networks of board members, investors, and peers to transition into their next big positions. The stakes definitely get higher, but the underlying mechanics of relationship currency remain exactly the same. Let's pivot now to section 4. engineering your relational blueprint, where we transition from theory to actual practice.
You absolutely have to shift your mindset here and contrast the completely wrong way to network with the right way. It is never a transactional sprint. It is an ongoing marathon. The sprint is exactly what we warned against earlier, right? It's rushing to hand out a massive stack of business cards at a single event, or mass adding hundreds of strangers online just because you suddenly need a favor. That is a transactional quick fix, and frankly, it yields very low returns. The marathon, however, is a long-term commitment that requires continuous investment. Engineering your career means waking up and participating in that marathon every single day. Now, for a busy professional, this doesn't mean you need to spend hours at awkward, stuffy networking mixers. Not at all. It means making small, daily investments. It's sending a quick message to congratulate a former colleague on a promotion, or sharing a relevant article with someone you met at a conference last year, or even just grabbing a 15-minute virtual coffee to catch up. You run this marathon knowing full well that the finish line is years down the road, and the ultimate prize is a robust, dynamic network that supports you unconditionally.
So, when you do reach out, you need to actively reflect on what you hope to accomplish, ensuring your outreach is highly intentional. You deliberately engage to elevate your knowledge. You connect to secure job referrals. You build bonds to find mentors, and you ask really thoughtful questions to gain deep industry insights. Think about a student who secured a hyper-competitive internship. They didn't do it by blindly asking for a job. Instead, they structured their outreach to first elevate their knowledge and find a mentor. They reached out to professionals simply asking to learn about specific industry trends. And you know what? That naturally evolved into a mentoring relationship and ultimately a direct job referral. This completely flips the script. It turns the vague, kind of intimidating concept of networking into a highly engineered, deliberate strategy with clear, attainable objectives. And that leads us to our final section. Section 5, the marathon of mutual benefit, achieving professional growth together. Here is the bottom line. Your blueprint only works if you approach these relationships as a two-way street designed to yield mutual benefits, not just one-sided favors. If you are only ever extracting value from your network, like only asking for job referrals or taking up someone's valuable time without giving anything back, your strategic social capital will go bankrupt fast. You always have to ask yourself, what can I offer? This is critical. You might be thinking, well, I'm at the absolute bottom of the corporate ladder. What could I possibly offer a CEO? Actually, a ton. You can offer fresh perspectives from a younger demographic, or simply share an interesting piece of research that relates to their recent work. Actually, scratch that. It could be as simple as providing high-value, low-effort feedback on a recent public talk they gave, or identifying a new macro trend on a specific social platform they might be way too busy to notice. Value isn't always about money or job offers. It's about insight, enthusiasm, and genuine support. When both parties grow and benefit, the network strengthens, and your relational blueprint becomes absolutely unshakable. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a profound challenge. If 85% of your future success is locked behind the doors of your network, what single relational investment will you make today to ensure you have the key tomorrow? Because remember, the wealth of connections is not built overnight. It's the result of continuous, deliberate, mutually beneficial investment. So start mapping out your own relational blueprint today. Focus on the marathon rather than the sprint, and watch how those potential resources unlock incredible actual opportunities. Keep connecting, and I will see you in the next explainer.